So today I was out here digging with my Chinese mini excavator. I got an 8-inch trenching bucket and I needed to trench a line for some electrical that I'm putting in. So while I was out there doing that, I started noticing my swivel motor, or my swivel action, was getting weak. And I didn't pay much mind to it. I thought maybe it was the hydraulic fluid getting hot, but it just kept getting weaker and weaker, to the point where I couldn't even get it to turn. It just wouldn't turn left or right. So I pulled it over here into the shade, pulled some panels off, and you will not believe what I found.
Now would be a great time to subscribe to the channel.
So this is an AGT H15. So if you have an H15, probably any of the other ones like this would come with the same problems, but let me show you what the problem was and how I fixed it. And it's pretty crazy. All right, so when I started taking these panels off, first thing I noticed, I took off this back panel and there was this hydraulic fluid just dripping down. It was kind of coming out from in between here. It was all in here. So definitely sign of a leak somewhere. So I started tracing that back. Of course, that led over here to this hydraulic motor here, which is the swivel motor. So I looked at that and there's oil all over it, as you can tell. And I tried to figure out, where the oil was coming from. Couldn't really tell. But when I reached in here to touch these things were loose, and loose enough for I could just move them with my finger. And it was not just one or two of them. I mean, they were all pretty loose. So I don't know if they're just not tightening those down, or if this is just a cheap motor, or if the vibration is making it loose. I'm not sure. But I had to crank down on every one of those pretty tight to get it, nice and snug. I wanted every one of those to be nice and snug, because when I turned it on, I did turn it on when I had these loose to find out, where is this leaking. It was coming out of this like cap here. This oil was just literally just pouring down out the side of this. So I turned it off. I tightened all of these up with a wrench, nice and tight, cranked it back up, and it went from having no turn ability to back to full strength swiveling ability that it had before. So my assumption is that this cap being loose was not letting it build up enough pressure, and it wasn't massive amounts of oil coming out of here. It was just kind of like a small steady stream or a leakage from this, but I guess it was enough to not let it build up any pressure and not move back and forth. So that is what caused this problem. I got to finish the job that I'm doing now. So what I think I'm going to do after I'm finished trenching is I'm going to bring this in there, take out every one of those bolts one at a time. I'm going to put some heavy duty Loctite on them. I may even look at putting some kind of lock washer or some kind of washer in between to make them nice and tight, crank them down, see if I can find torque ratings. I don't know. I'm going to try to find actually the serial number and everything for this swivel motor. And then I'm going to crank them down, just Loctite them in, because there's really no reason for me to take this apart. I don't plan on rebuilding this or whatever. Hopefully it will last a long time. But anyways, that was the problem, and that just blew my mind that the whole freaking cap of this motor was coming off and leaking fluid down. So like I said, now that it's tightened down, it's moving back and forth, no problem. I'm going to put all this back together, finish what I'm working on, and see if this happens again while I'm using it. I sure hope not. So all right, well, if you have one of these and that happens to you, this may be part of the problem. Take the panels off, look for that swivel motor, and see if you're leaking like this. All right, well, I hope this information was helpful. Thank you very much for watching. Y'all take care.